was the evening of Thursday the 22nd of August 1973. The Isle of Man, normally a quiet island in the Irish Sea, was alive with the sound of holidaymakers. Douglas, the capital town, bustled with families on the summer breaks. The island was popular with tourists from Britain who arrived by boat and plane to enjoy its charm. That evening, the weather was fine and the atmosphere was cheerful. The pride of Douglas was a brand new attraction called Summerland. Opened only 2 years earlier, it was billed as an all-in-weather leisure paradise, a place where it never rained, even in Britain. The enormous complex stretched across several floors and could hold up to 10,000 people. Inside, there were arcades, swimming pools, cafes, restaurants, theatres, bars, and even artificial sunlight, provided by powerful lamps. To many visitors, it felt like stepping into the future. On that night, about 3,000 people filled the building, enjoying the entertainment. Summerland's design was striking, but also flawed. The walls were made from transparent plastic called Oroglass, choosing to look like glass but lighter and cheaper. The roof and cladding used panels coated with bitumen. This modern materials was celebrated by architects at the time, but few realized how flammable they were. The complex also criticized for lacking fire exits, alarms and sprinklers. It was in reality a disaster waiting to happen. Just after 7:30 in the evening, three boys were playing near a disused wooden kiosk on the seaward side of the complex. They lit a small fire, perhaps thinking it was only mischief, but the kiosk was dry and old and it caught quickly. Within moments, flames spread from the kiosk to outer cladding of Summerland. The boys fled, not realizing what they had unleashed. At first, the smoke was faint, drifting into the arcades and cafes. Some guests thought it was part of an effect, perhaps from the theatre shows. Others assumed it was minor and would soon be dealt with. But within minutes, the smoke thickened and a glow of orange light flickered against the walls. Holidaymakers began to realize something was seriously wrong. When the fire alarms failed to sound properly and the lights began to flicker, confused turned into fear. Visitors tried to find a way out, but the building's design was complicated. Some doors were locked, others hidden, and emergency routes were poorly signed. Crowds surged towards familiar entrances, creating bottleneck. Parents clutched their children's hands tightly as they tried to navigate the smoke. In less than half an hour, the fire had become uncontrollable inferno. Flames burst into the main entertainment halls, racing across ceilings and along floors. The heat grew unbearable. Plastic roof began to sag, then collapse, raining modern material into the people below. Entire sections of the building were consumed in fire, filling with choking black smoke. The futuristic place had become a burning cage. Survivors later spoke of the scenes of chaos and terror. People smashed windows with chairs and arcade machines, desperately trying to escape through broken glass. Some crawled on hands and knees, gasping for air too close to the floor. Others became trapped in dead-end stairways. Families were separated. The screamers that was trapped mingled with the roar of the fire and the crashing of the collapsing walls. Douglas fire crews and police raced to the site, but when they arrived, the scale of the blaze was overwhelming. The entire front of the building was in inferno, and parts were already collapsing. Firefighters struggled to reach those inside, hindered by the intensity of the heat and the rapid spread of flames. Still, they pressed forward, pulling out survivors where they could. Despite the bravery of the rescuers, the disaster claimed a terrible toll. 50 people lost their lives that night, many overcome by smoke before they could escape. Around 80 more were injured, some with life-changing burns. The Isle of Man had never seen such a catastrophic, and the scale of loss stunned the small community. By dawn, Summerland was a blackened ruin. The twisted remains of its roof juttled into the air, and smoke still rised from the wreckage. Families searched desperately for news of missing loved ones. The holiday atmosphere of Douglas had vanished, replaced by grief and disbelief. News of the disaster spread rapidly across Britain and the world. In the days and weeks that followed, an inquiry was launched. It revealed a shocking list of failings. Buildings' materials had been dangerously flammable. Fire alarms and sprinklers had not been fitted properly. Exits were blocked, locked, or badly marked. In short, the complex had been designed without thought for safety. The Summerland disaster forced change across Britain. New regulations were brought in to improve fire safety in public buildings. Materials like Oroglass were banned from large structures. Designers and architects faced stricter rules. The tragedy had shown that safety could never again be ignored in the pursuit of glamour. Summerland itself was partly rebuilt, was never the same, and eventually it was demolished. Today, a memorial stands in Douglas, close to the site of the disaster. It bears the names of the 50 people who lost their lives. For the Isle of Man, it remains the darkest chapter in modern history. For the wider world, it was a warning that even the most modern and exciting buildings must never forget the simple need for safety. The Summerland disaster is remembered not just as a tragedy, but as a turning point in how we design the space where people gather.